From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. Remains of the space shuttle astronauts have not only been found, but have now been recovered from the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. And pathologists are reportedly examining those remains at an Air Force base in Florida. As ABC's Lynn Scher reports, the recovery task has been difficult, and it is not over yet.
It took 2 sets of divers from the Navy ship, the USS Preserver, to confirm the sighting of the cabin on Saturday and bring back the first pieces of wreckage and human remains. Today, the ship was on location again, but high seas could delay the recovery process for several days. The crew compartment is lying in pieces in 100 feet of water about 18 miles northeast of the launch pad where it began its doomed journey. Sources say a number of NASA officials believe it broke up after the violent explosion, but before it hit the water some 8 miles below. And impacting the water at speeds exceeding 500 miles an hour, it could not have remained intact. Air Force radar tracking the orbiter, as it does during every launch, followed the larger pieces into the Atlantic, so NASA has known the general area of the wreckage since the accident. But it took several weeks of checking out several dozen sonar targets on the ocean floor before the crew quarters was positively identified. The cabin, a 3-story structure of aluminum alloy, is pressurized for flight, but neither it nor its human cargo would be expected to survive the crash to the sea. During Challenger's liftoff, Commander Dick Scobie and pilot Mike Smith were seated at the controls on the flight deck, with mission specialist Judith Resnick and Ellison Onizuka behind them. One deck below, astronaut Ron McNair was seated with payload specialist Greg Jarvis and schoolteacher Krista McAuliffe. Today, Dr. McNair's father had this reaction to the discovery.
I feel that we have had time to prepare ourselves for this, so it may not be quite as bad as it was originally.
But Greg Jarvis's father was unhappy that all the family members weren't told immediately.
I'd just like to, in the future, when something like this, more comes up like this, I'd just like to know about it too.
Meanwhile, most of the rest of the astronaut corps attended their regular weekly meeting in Houston today, where one of the items discussed was the internal memo disclosed over the weekend from Chief Astronaut John Young. In it, Young listed a number of safety problems he saw on previous missions and said the driving reason behind flying with what he called unsafe conditions was launch schedule pressure. Today, a NASA spokesperson said that all the issues raised in the memo had been reviewed several times before the Challenger accident. Still, a number of astronauts told ABC News today they think John Young's concerns are valid. And a subcommittee of the Presidential Commission will look into the same issues when they have meetings at the Johnson Space Center starting tomorrow. Lynn Scher, ABC News, New York.